All right, look, we have to talk about this Kilmar Abrego Garcia mess. You got an illegal immigrant from El Salvador with a whole rap sheet of allegations, human trafficking, gang ties, domestic abuse, and somehow this one man has become the star of a multi-million-dollar media and legal circus. And y'all, the immigration system in this country isn't just broken, it's a complete train wreck. And if you need one story, just one, to show you how upside down things have gotten, this is it. And it's a story so wild, so packed with government incompetence and political games that it perfectly captures the chaos. So check this. ICE messes up and deports a dude. Then after a whole lot of screaming, they bring him back. The second his feet touch American soil, he probably thinks he's home free. Until ICE shows up at his immigration check-in Baltimore and snatches him up again. Now, and they're talking about deporting him to Uganda. Yeah, you heard that right. Uganda, a country on the whole other side of the planet. And look, this isn't some clerical error. This is a move so bizarre, it shows you exactly how insane the whole situation has gotten and the reaction to it even more insane. Check out this clip.
Un milagro, gracias a Dios y a gracias a toda la comunidad. This was a miracle. Thank you to God and thank you to the community power. Y por eso quiero decirles las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que marcharon, levantaron sus voces y oraron y nunca dejaron de creer y luchar por mi libertad. And this is why I want to thank each and every one of you who marched, lift your voices, never stopped praying, and continued to fight in my name.
It's now for the big close-up interview, border czar Tom Homan. Tom, thanks for joining us tonight. Obviously, a fast-moving case. Abrego Garcia's lawyer says the government is, quote, weaponizing the immigration system against him. My question is, what's your response to accusations that you're weaponizing the immigration system, and will, in fact, Abrego Garcia soon be heading to Uganda?
He is absolutely going to be deported from this country. He's not going to walk the streets of this nation, so he can enjoy the little time he has with his family. And for the person who says we're not going to separate family, well, his family can go with him because he's leaving. He's going to be deported. Look, he's a criminal alien. He's a member of MS-13, which is now a designated terrorist. He's a wife beater. He's a human trafficker. He's been indicted for human trafficking and alien smuggling. He's a bad person. He's not going to be here. He's been order removed twice. Order removed by two different federal judges. He's going to leave this country in the very near future, and his family can go with him. I can't see who was talking before the sound bites, but whoever said we're taking advantage of broken immigration system, what do they do? What do those people do the last 4 years about this broken immigration system? They let 10.5 million people cross that border. Sex trafficking women and children, all-time high. Overdose deaths of fentanyl, all-time high. Number of terrorists, all-time high. They didn't do anything to fix it. President Trump is keeping his promise to American people to enforce the law, and that's what we're doing. We're making this country safer every day by removing people like Abrego Garcia.
And right on cue, the mainstream liberal media starts losing its collective mind because Garcia is facing the exact consequences everyone knew were coming. The way the activists and the media spin it is a simple movie plot. You got the innocent victim wrongly deported in March 2025 to some hellhole prison in El Salvador. Then, after a huge legal battle, he's brought back to the US in June 2025. The second he comes back, the second he's back, he's holding press conferences and thanking his supporters. But now I want to get to the left leaning commentary and the liberal freakout that is occurring with this whole matter, with this situation. So I want you guys to check out what the left are saying. Supporters.
They are now going to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda. Remember, this is the guy that got deported to El Salvador due to an administrative error and has been apart from his family for 160 days. He has been held by the government until Friday. Remember, they brought him back a while ago? They just released him on Friday. And while he was having his reunion with his family, they're crying, they're so happy. Immigration officials came up to him and said, hey, we're going to deport you to Uganda, just FYI. They told him, they said, hey, we're going to have a meeting on Monday. It's just a chat. No, he saw on the news over the weekend that they're intending to deport him to Uganda.
So now, despite the fact that he is not an MS-13 member, he is not a violent criminal gang rape fucking thug the way that they frame it. Yeah, he's probably going to get deported to Uganda, which is hilarious because he's not from Uganda. And when I say hilarious, I don't mean that that's funny. I mean it's funny that our nation has fallen so far to the point where we are seriously considering deporting people to Uganda who have never been there before.
And he's being detained, and it's being said that they're going to deport him to Uganda. Evil is the point. I promise you, that is the point. And anybody cheering this on, shame on you. Shame on you.
Got some horrible news. ICE is threatening Kilmar Abrego Garcia with deportation to Uganda now. Yes, Uganda in Africa. The man that was sent to CCOT in El Salvador, forced to bring him back, and no less than 48 hours of him actually finally getting to hold his wife in his arms. Like literally 2 days. Maryland has trumped up some more charges against this man, and he was taken into custody about 2 hours ago. Now, of course, his lawyers are trying to fight off the deportation to Uganda right now, but it's not like this administration to listen to, judges or rules or anything like that. And MAGA, I will never forgive you for the fact that it's normalized now to just send people to countries they've never been to before, all because you don't like the way they look or the fact that they don't look like you.
All right, so I wanted to know, did you guys peep something? And the man couldn't even speak English, Abrego Garcia. I'm not trying to be funny, but how you're in this country for so long and can't even speak a lick of English? Now, you could call me old school, but I believe if you come to this country or go to any country, you should be able to speak the required language out of respect for that country. And it's about respect for the nation that's hosting you. And we can't be a country of disconnected communities that can't even talk to each other. So, this is the part of the movie where the hero is supposed to get his happy ending, right? But then here comes evil ICE to ruin the party, as they may call it or look at it from these liberals, and arrest him again. And just like that, the media completely lost their minds. And I want you guys to see in regards to the take of that. Check it out.
Breaking just a short time ago, since we have been on the air, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was taken into ICE custody. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed he is being processed for deportation. His attorneys now threatening new legal action if that happens, and they say he could be sent to Uganda unless he accepts a plea deal today that would, it said, see him deported to Costa Rica. So there's a lot going on here, all these new developments. Let's get right to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez in Baltimore with the very latest. What are you learning now, Priscilla?
Well, John, there have been multiple developments within the span of 2 hours. It wasn't that long ago that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was standing right behind me along with his wife as he was thanking organizers and his family before going into that federal building behind me to check in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But then only 45 minutes later is when we learned from his attorney that he was taken into ICE custody shortly after entering the building. And here's what his attorney had to say.
If they want to deport him to any other country, they need to go through that exact same process. Unless and until they have gone through that process, they do not have the right to put him on an airplane. And that's what we're going to be asking the district court to ensure, that he is not put on any flight to any country whatsoever, whether it's Uganda, South Sudan, what have you, unless and until he has had a full and fair trial.
Hold on. He already had his due process. That's what I don't get about their argument, because at the end of the day, a final order of removal is a final order. But this is the signal for everybody to start screaming. And then the ACLU, and for anybody who don't know what that means, the American Civil Liberties Union, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization founded in 1920, and with their mission to defend and preserve individual rights and liberties guaranteed to all people in the United States by the Constitution and laws. And they work with sinners on civil core principles like due process of law and equality under the law and freedom of expressions, conscience and association, and with stuff like that, right? So just to put it like that. But what I'm getting to is the ACLU is out here calling it obsessive and pretty and petty cruelty, but they want you to be so outraged about Uganda that you don't ask any other questions, but it's the other questions that blow up in their entire narrative. All right? Because if you put the feelings aside and start asking some basic common sense questions, see, family, what you guys have to understand is you have to do your research, mine out the information, use your real life examples so you actually can understand what's going on. Get past the talking points from a Republican or a Democrat party and understand really what's going on by you mining out this information and resonating with your real life experience and then being able to understand it, let alone express it, because talking points from a Democratic Party or Republican Party is not going to save you. You have to do your own research and think for yourself. That's the whole point of me doing all this and trying to add some value in you guys' lives and actually mine this out and actually understand how this will impact everyday Americans, because I'm pro-American. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm none of that. I'm pro-American for what's best for America. And I know when a country and a nation thrives off of is safety, great schools, education system, also great businesses, because businesses then creates workflow, which then creates jobs for individuals. I'm not anti-billionaires. I'm actually billionaires actually brings jobs to the the cities and the states and the economy, because I'd rather them bring their monies to America and pour into Americans, and Americans get the salaries and get more money in their pockets than ever. And then you also have to understand that Americans being able to pave a way for themselves by being able to invest in themselves with self-preservation, because they have the monies, let alone good salaries, let alone booming economy, let alone national safety. So you can go out here and enjoy the cities and enjoy the beauty of America with its freedoms and not have to worry about being gunned down or slugged or hit, and families being able to live the American dream, being able to have houses, homes if they can afford it, in a comfortable home, because you have to understand the cost of a homeowner. And then the simple fact is also being able to travel however many times you want frequently throughout the year with your family, building experiences, because we only live once. So I say all that, family, because like, why was this man even on ICE's radar to begin with? That's the common sense questions. After Garcia was brought back, he was hit with federal charges for human smuggling. A judge let him out on bond, and it was his very next mandatory check-in that ICE rearrested him. But the story gets even darker because his supporters want you to believe he's just some harmless victim. And the Department of Homeland Security paints a very different picture in an official public statement that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, accused Abrego Garcia of being a MS-13 gang member and a human trafficker. And they also mentioned other serious allegations of abuse. So here's what you heard what ICE Director Tom Homan had to say about it, right? So when you look at all of these things, right, you gotta let that sink in for a minute. Because the actual government agency in charge of protecting our country is on the record with these accusations. Now, there's still allegations, but they are the entire reason the government is going so hard on this case, to leave these facts out of the story isn't just bad journalism, it's deliberate manipulation. And it's a lot harder to get people to march in the streets for someone the government is accusing of being a gang as savage as MS-13. So they're just pretend that part of the story doesn't exist. So this one case right here shows you how every single part of our immigration system is failing us. Because first, the government messed up sending Abrego Garcia to El Salvador, which was a mistake they had to own up to. But that mistake doesn't give him a permanent get out of jail free card. And the second failure is the judge, because after ICE rearrested him and announced the Uganda plan, his lawyers ran straight to the court, and a federal judge, Paula Ixenis, Ixenis, or whatever his name is, immediately blocked the deportation. And this is a classic move from their playbook. The left keeps demanding more due process, but we warned them 1,000 times what that means by due process is just unlimited appeals until they get the result they want. Now, the judge has jumped in the middle of a national security decision, and that brings us to the third failure, the Uganda plan itself. Why Uganda? Because a country already said he can't be his own country. We would love for him to go to his country and be with his people. But even El Salvador, he can't be sent back to El Salvador because here's the punchline. Reports on the New Deal say that El Salvador will not accept anyone with a criminal record. I mean, here's the punchline. Reports on the New Deal say Uganda will not accept anyone with a criminal record. So the government's brilliant idea to send a man they're calling a dangerous criminal to a country that has a public policy of not accepting criminals you can't even write this stuff, and let alone El Salvador. They call themselves sending him not to El Salvador because he was seeking asylum originally, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and they don't want they're trying to protect him from not going back to El Salvador because he's in danger. That's why he was seeking asylum in the first place, right? Because if you really want to know the rundown of how he got here in the first place and his whole legal status, this is basically what happened. He remains in the U.S. right now, and as we know, as his legal right is still in limbo. But in 2019, his protective status was violated in March, but then reinstated through court orders. So when in 2019, a U.S. immigration judge granted Garcia withholding of removal, which allowed him to live and work illegally in the U.S. To protect him on asylum-like status, meaning to protect him from his country because supposedly El Salvador is dangerous, gang members are after him, or whatever the case may be. But then when you go to the wrongful deported, the administrative error where they deported him despite the 2019 order, and then he get caught with this Baltimore check-in of human smuggling, let alone abuse and all these other things. So if you really look at it, ICE can't really detain him if can immediately detain him, and if removal to a third country is considered, they must give him 72-hour notice. That's how they're looking at it in July 2025, right? But he was detained at a routine check-in and announced plans to deport him to Uganda that his lawyers are quickly trying to fight this, right? Now, the judge, Paula, has temporarily blocked the deportation to Uganda, but until a proper hearing ensures due process. But how many due processes is it going to take for understand that at the end of the day, he was only here for a temporary protection to protect him from his country. He didn't go through the legal process like other immigrants who did it the right way to come in this country. And when it come to El Salvador, the thing is, in 2019, when you look at this whole thing, right? Uganda has accepted deportees and refugees from other countries under U.S. deals, quietly negotiated. But the headlines is where I'm getting at. Want you to think that Uganda doesn't even accept illegals. And why is he going to Uganda instead of his own country? Uganda is sometimes taking deportees when their home country is off limits legally. The whole point I'm making is that Abrego Garcia, home country, does not want him there. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Peace.